In the half century since the beginning of the war on poverty, the line of struggle has been shifting. More recently, that means addressing the cost of poverty and the cost of being surrounded by prosperity in a city like Boston. To talk about the issue and the new climate change expected with a new administration in Washington is the president and CEO of ABCD, John Drew. Thank you very much for being with us, John.
Thank you for inviting me.
I want to have you start on a positive note about
try that.
Where we are at this moment, before the next moment, because there have been some gains for people.
Well, we have, the economic gains. We all know that they were uneven, and a lot of wealth went to the top. But the job market opened up at the lower level for a number of people to dig in. Minimum wage has gone up in these states. We've had more access to food stamps and other things, but those things are starting to go away as people think the economy is getting better. So, it hasn't been paradise. If you don't have much money in this economy, you're in the Middle West where they voted their pocketbook, or you're in the cities, black and brown of Baltimore City, your life didn't change much. It may have got worse because you didn't get ahead, you got harassed, you lost your housing. If you're in a city like Boston at this time, the rents are going out of sight and you can't afford to stay here. We're losing people right now. People that we've been serving are now left the city, East Boston, because East Boston's getting gentrified. So all of these things are working, sort of counterintuitive to the idea that aggregate poverty has gone down. But if you look at the actual studies, the white poverty went down, but the black poverty and the Hispanic poverty is 25%. We really leave those things aside when we start talking too much in general.
But when I was saying gains, I think there have been some things, at least recent months, that there have been some increases in pay, even for people with low wages, increases in access to health care. So, it's not all bad news.
No. It's a mixed bag. See, I deal with people who are at a stage of life where everything's tough. In the middle, fine, and then there may be little increases in wages. Some of the wage increase came from the minimum wage increases that people were able to get. Some of it's more hours. Not a lot of people got better jobs because we don't have the skill base to train people. So and then the higher paying jobs went to people who had the higher skills and brought up everybody. So we haven't really improved lots of lives. I would say we were starting to make some improvements. We had people covered with health care who previously didn't have it, obviously, and we got the winds of economic changes that you have a city like Boston or Austin or across the country. We're going through a huge change with high prices, high-end condos, and money coming in from well-off people. You have large school populations, so people who live here all their lives, are born here or come in here from someplace else, they don't have that resource to be able to hang on and compete. And that's what we're trying to do right now, is try to find places for people to go.
Well, it's interesting now because with these neighborhoods where you have displacement being a threat, evictions, it's not just that people have to move somewhere else and then maybe pay more money for transportation, but if you get evicted, that stalks you.
We have a whole bunch of things going on. We have homeless families. And they're a result of a whole bunch of things, including domestic abuse, but also the fact that they can't have enough money to pay rent. And they're in shelters all over the place, 4,000 or 5,000 families. Then we have the walking wounded, the people who have all kinds of baggage in their life, the single homeless. We're trying to shelter them. But essentially we're hiding them away because we really are not building housing for people that they can afford. So, yeah. We're seeing it every day that people, for example, they have people taken off and gone to New Bedford. It's a new place for them. They're not, how do they get on down there? Well, the rents are about 40% cheaper right now.
And what about the jobs down there?
It's the same thing down there. The people down there are trying to fight for jobs, and they got to go into the school system. So many of the poor people who are in poverty in that category of, I call them folks who are being displaced, like the Syrian refugees. There, any place around the state that they can put them, but an awful lot started out their life in Boston and Boston Public Schools, but that's changed. So we're changing with it. So and that's what we've done so far, and now we got what's coming next.
We're talking with John Drew from ABCD. John, what about the cost of housing? Because one of the ideas is, yes, you could pursue subsidies for rents, but where are we going to get the money these days?
Well, even the subsidies for rents. Well, first of all, if we want to find the money, we'll find the money. We can have wars and we find the money without even asking for it. If you really want to do something in this country, you'll find the money. But right now we have something called a Section 8 subsidy, where the rent is paid between the tenant and the landlord with a max of, say, $1,400. They're losing their tenancy because the rents are going up to $2,200, and they can't pay the difference, so even with the subsidy. So to build housing, you need to be able to bring in partners with government where part of the building is subsidized, being built with a private developer so you can keep the cost down. And then the thing I keep pushing, and not everybody's listening, we don't want tenants. I want people to own their own property. So they have capital for the next generation, not supposed to be a renter. So, but then again, you got yesterday, well, everybody's talking about the new study on housing that came out of Northeastern, great stuff over there. Well, the builders say, we know how to build for the high end, we make money. We know how to build for the low end, they know how to do it, they don't do it. But we don't know how to build for the middle, because we can't make any money on that. Well, what's the middle? What they're saying is basically they're going to go where they're advantaged, and if there's enough people who want to pay $2 million, $1 million, or $800,000, that's what they'll build. Not $300,000, where people maybe in the middle could get in for the start a house. So we're not seeing that. So it's a lot of stuff that's going on at the same time. And I'm trying to figure it all out myself. I've got to run this organization. We've got to figure out what resources we're going to have. And also the environment in which we're trying to work with people. And clearly we now have an election which is going to change the dynamics again.
John, talk about food stamps here, because that
Sure.
has really taken a beating, especially maybe in some states around the country.
Yep.
And, you know, in Boston, I remember a few years ago, they were saying something like a third of the people in Dorchester, at least the households, were on food stamps. I know it was a tougher time economically, but some other people might hear that and say, that can't be real. I mean, could that many people need food stamps?
Well, yes, they do. And if you don't live near there and don't see that, and you don't have in a day-to-day occurrence to intermingle with people who are needing, then you have no idea. You think, well, why do they need that? The interesting thing about food stamps, I love it when they pick on people. Food stamps, the farmers produce crops and they make a profit. It goes to the wholesalers, they make a profit. It goes to the middlemen, they make a profit. It goes to the retail stores, they make a profit. And it's consumed by people. So where did the money go? Not in the stomach, it went through the whole chain and supply. So, you know, they keep yelling about people on food stamps. The fact is that food stamps have been cut. And now there's new people that are talking in Washington, the new people that are talking about being heads of the department, and Congress are talking about, well, now, let's see, how we'll change food stamps. We're going to make them work. Okay.
Now, of course, I'm sure you're ready for this, John. You're going to say, well, why don't they just get a job, right?
Yeah.
Right.
Then, we'll change Medicaid. Medicaid is free to poor people, but start charging them for Medicaid, you know, a little copay. You know, it's these ideas, unfortunately, given that we'll have a new Congress that is all Republican and a Republican White House, a lot of these ideas which percoled around before could very well happen because they have the majorities. So we'll see. But I would say that if you are living in poverty, you're in the middle part of the country, factories going, or you're black and brown, or you're whatever, you're not looking forward to the next few years, because there's nothing here that you've heard that says that you're going to get some help to get a job, help to get housing. To the contrary, what you're hearing is some of the things may be taken away. All to be played out. I'm not a crystal ball guy, but I can take a look at the appointments and listen to Congress and hear about tax cuts for the wealthy again, as if they don't have enough, and trickle it down, give it to them, and it'll trickle down to everybody else. I'd like to hear some, no matter who got elected, I'd like to have some bold ideas. Let's build 1 million units of housing. Let's do what Franklin Roosevelt did and put people to work. Let's do the things that the people in this country need rather than whatever they're doing. I don't know what they're doing, except building up the military. That's nice. And they haven't passed legislation of any kind in 5 years down there.
Of course, another thing that's been at least talked about by the Republicans in Washington is either cutting back or maybe even doing away with Head Start, the early education program that ABCD runs here. Should that money maybe just be sent back to the states and let them figure out what to do with it, or maybe turn it into vouchers so parents can shop around? Or
well, they'll debate all that, and we're going to push back. Head Start is and has been a program for low-income families. It's an enriched and wonderful program, and it could very well be targeted for people who want to do early education for all, and we're aware of that. All we can do is keep telling people this is a very good program, and it really does work. It's a model for a lot of other things that go on, and you should look at it closely before you really throw it out, because too many people will be hurt. It will not be evenly distributed when they talk about having pre-K for everybody. Not everybody around this country even has kindergarten, never mind pre-K. And they'll dump it into the states. I love my state people. And they get lost in the budget, and all of a sudden, it's not there anymore. So when you have something that works, don't fix it.
John, what about that? Because we hear this refrain over and over again. We have all this poverty, all this need. I guess that means the programs aren't working for anybody. But tell me about success stories.
We have a lot of success. I just wrote something to the Red Sox because I've been working with them for 20 years doing Field of Dreams on their playground called Fenway Park, raising money every year to put kids to work. And from that program alone, over 3 generations, we have a commissioner of police in Boston who told me his first job was ABCD. We have policemen, firemen, doctors, lawyers, people of color, women have all been advantaged by getting that first job. It works. We just don't have enough. And we are trying our best to get access to kids to get them through high school. And poverty, it has worked. Clearly it's worked. But it hasn't cured poverty, which is kind of silly. You have a war on poverty like a war on drugs. Well, unless you're serious and you're going to put a lot of money into a lot of people, unless your fair housing laws, which you passed, are going to mean people who are black and brown and poor can get into the suburbs, they can't now because a lot of walls up, then these barriers are still there. But we're bringing people through, pushing them over the barriers, and the country's starting to look a little different. And a lot of our people got opportunity, but a lot left behind.
Thank you very much for being with us.
Thank you for having me.
John Drew from ABCD.